It's Monday, the 3rd of June, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 big stories to race through in 5 minutes, so let's get cracking. Story number 1, house prices had their strongest month in May since late last year, but there are big disparities between capital cities, with Perth on a tear and Melbourne struggling.
House prices are rising in most capital cities despite the cost of living crisis and 12-year higher interest rates. It is the mid-sized capitals leading the way, with Perth prices up 2% last month. Adelaide was up 1.8%, Brisbane 1.4%. Sydney reached a new milestone, with houses hitting a record high, beating the January 2022 peak, according to CoreLogic. During May, prices rose 0.6% in the harbour city. However, prices in Hobart and Darwin went backwards. In Melbourne, they were only very slightly higher. Brisbane is now the second most expensive capital city, overtaking both Canberra and Melbourne's median dwelling value. CoreLogic's research director Tim Lawless said the extremely low level of supply in some of the mid-sized capital explains the surge in prices in those markets. Michael?
Sean, it feels like the housing market has changed in the past 5 years. Is this COVID related?
In part. Coming into the pandemic, Melbourne's median dwelling value held around a 37% premium over Brisbane's, and ACT's median was approximately 24% higher. However, Brisbane values have increased at more than 5 times the pace of Melbourne values since the onset of COVID, and substantially outpaced growth in the ACT. But there are other factors. In Melbourne, net interstate migration hasn't helped, nor has an increase in land tax for investment properties, and rental vacancy rates aren't quite as low in Melbourne. Bottom line in all this is that the housing market remains strong. Over the past year, Perth house prices are up 22%, Brisbane 16%, Adelaide's 14%, Sydney more than 7%. Darwin, Canberra and Melbourne are around 2 or 3%. Only Hobart's gone backwards, and very slightly. Across the country, for the capital cities, it's 9%, regions 7%. That's still pretty good.
Yeah, still pretty strong. Okay, on to story number 2 now. There's plenty of speculation this morning that former federal treasurer Josh Frydenberg will put his hand up to run at the next election in his old Melbourne seat of Kooyong.
He lost the last election to high-profile Teal independent Monique Ryan, and the current candidate is Amelia Aylmer, following the Australian Electoral Commission's draft boundary determination that was released on Friday. Kooyong is considered more Liberal-friendly, apparently prompting Mr Frydenberg's rethink about politics. He's currently chair of Goldman Sachs Australia. The Victorian Libs are not all in favour of the former treasurer standing again, according to media reports. Be a good one to watch.
Certainly will be. Story number 3, Sean. I know you're a bit of a Bunnings enthusiast. The Wesfarmers-backed hardware chain has retained the top spot among the most trusted brands in the nation, while the 2 big supermarkets have fallen entirely out of the top 20.
Woolworths went from second spot in December to 34th at the end of March, according to Roy Morgan. Rival Coles fell from the 5th most trusted brand to the 9th most distrusted brand in the current rankings. Aldi is now Australia's 2nd most trusted brand, ahead of Kmart, which is 3rd. The big mover in the top 20 is Australia Post. It's come in at 6th, just behind tech giant Apple and car manufacturer Toyota. Telco Optus remains the most distrusted brand in Australia. No one wants that. That's been 3 straight quarters for that one. Also not so well trusted, as in distrusted, social media giant Meta / Facebook, Qantas, Medibank, Telstra and media company News Corp. Roy Morgan's CEO Michelle Levine said Australian distrust for companies has grown significantly in the past year, as cost of living concerns and high inflation have raised problems about companies being motivated by higher profits and excessive price increases, and not being focused on putting the customer first.
Story number 4, Sean. The Mona Gallery in Tasmania is about to exhibit an album so rare and valuable that only a few people have ever actually listened to it.
Housed in an ornate silver box, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, recorded in secret by the Wu-Tang Clan over 6 years, was designed to be a piece of fine art. Only a single CD copy exists. The record by the pioneering hip-hop group is the most expensive ever sold, now loaned to Tasmania's Museum of Old and New Art, Mona. Over 10 days this month, Mona will host small listening parties where members of the public can hear a curated 30-minute sample of the album. Pretty incredible. Recorded in New York City, produced in Marrakesh between 2006 and 2013. The album includes the 9 surviving members of the group. It comes in a hand-carved nickel box and a leather-bound manuscript containing the lyrics.
I don't think either of us are cool enough to go and listen to that, Sean.
No, absolutely not. Not me, anyway.
Especially the way we just so carefully pronounce Wu-Tang Clan to make sure we say each word separately.
That's right.
We just do not seem very cool today. All right, story number 5. Maybe this will redeem us. Actually, no, it won't at all. It's a story about space. A Chinese spacecraft landed on the far side of the moon, boosting the nation's efforts to compete with the US in a race to send people back to the lunar surface for the first time, Sean, in more than half a century.
The China National Space Administration announced that Chang'e 6 successfully landed at the designated landing area, according to Xinhua news agency. Chang'e 6 will attempt to be the first to collect samples from the moon's far side and transport them back to Earth. The mission is China's second to the far side, following a landing by Chang'e 4 spacecraft in 2019. No other country has landed on that half the moon. Much more difficult area for communications because it never faces the Earth.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 3rd of June, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.